When you think of European royalty, you probably picture the grand courts of France, the stoic Tudors of England, or the powerful Habsburgs of Spain. But what if I told you there was another kingdom? One whose history is so dark, so violent, and so forgotten. It's almost as if it was intentionally erased from our memory. Today, we're journeying into the heart of Europe to uncover the cursed history of the Kingdom of Bohemia. This wasn't a land of fairy tales. This was a kingdom built on blood, betrayal, and a throne that seemed to destroy anyone who dared to sit on it. Our story begins in Prague, a city that now looks like a storybook, but beneath its stunning architecture lies a history of deep-seated paranoia and political terror. Imagine a royal court where whispers and shadowy corridors held more power than royal decrees. Spies weren't just in the enemy's camp. They were behind the curtains of the throne room, in the pews of the church, and sometimes even in the queen's bedchamber. Power in Bohemia wasn't inherited, it was seized. And in this brutal game of survival, betrayal wasn't a crime. It was a necessary tool. Bohemia was geographically and politically trapped, a precarious kingdom wedged between two colossal forces, the sprawling Holy Roman Empire to the west and the ever-expanding influence of the Catholic Church. This unique position turned Bohemia into a tinderbox. When religion was weaponized, the kingdom became the battlefield, and its royal bloodline became the primary target. Kings who dared to defy the powers that be would simply vanish. Those who chose obedience found themselves as mere puppets, their strings pulled by emperors and popes. The air in Prague Castle was thick with fear, not just of foreign invaders, but of the very people meant to protect the crown. Then came the moment that ripped the kingdom apart. It wasn't a battle or a secret assassination. It was an act of pure, shocking defiance. On a fateful day in 1618, a group of furious Protestant nobles confronted the Catholic representatives of the king. The argument escalated until, in a fit of rage, the nobles grabbed the officials and threw them straight out of a castle window, a staggering 70 feet down. Miraculously, the men survived, a fact the Catholics claimed was divine intervention. This event, now known as the Defenestration of Prague, wasn't just an attack on a few men. It was a declaration of war against the entire system. The act lit the fuse for the 30 Years' War, a conflict that would drown Europe in blood for decades. From that day forward, the Bohemian throne wasn't just a seat of power. It was a cursed chair. Anyone who sat on it lived in constant fear. Rulers surrounded themselves with legions of armed guards, trusting no one. Queens slept behind hidden doors and secret passages, terrified of the night. Royal children weren't taught diplomacy and art. They were taught how to detect poison, how to fight, and how to survive in a world where their own family might be their deadliest enemy. The court became a nest of vipers. Brothers betrayed brothers for a sliver of influence. Sons spied on their fathers, waiting for a moment of weakness. It was a silent, relentless civil war fought within the castle walls. Into this chaos stepped one of Europe's most ambitious and powerful dynasties, the Habsburgs. With their vast network and insatiable hunger for control, they saw Bohemia not as a kingdom to be respected, but as a prize to be conquered. And when the Habsburgs moved in, the true darkness descended. They didn't just seize the throne, they seized the very bloodline of Bohemia. Royal blood was mixed, manipulated, and controlled through a series of strategic marriages that were nothing short of political prisons. Love and choice were erased from the equation. All that mattered was lineage, loyalty to the Habsburg cause, and absolute power. Queens and princesses became breeding stock, their sole purpose to produce heirs who would further tighten the Habsburg grip. Under Habsburg rule, Bohemia began to suffocate. Its unique culture, its language, and its identity were systematically suppressed. The once proud kingdom, which had been a center of learning and reform, was slowly transformed into a provincial outpost of a foreign empire. Its kings were no longer its own. The crown became a hand-me-down, passed between Habsburg cousins who often ruled from distant Vienna, viewing Bohemia as little more than a source of taxes and soldiers for their endless wars. The spirit of the proud Bohemian lion seemed to be broken, and the kingdom became a shadow of its former self. But even in the darkest of times, resistance never truly died. It simply went underground. Secret societies formed in the cellars of Prague's taverns and the hidden attics of noble estates. Coded messages were passed through trusted networks, right under the noses of Habsburg spies. The royal court, though outwardly obedient, became a silent theater of war. A misplaced document, a deliberate rumor, a forgotten order. These were the new weapons in a clandestine fight for survival. Nobles who appeared loyal in public worked in secret to preserve what was left of their heritage, hoping for a day when Bohemia could be free once more. This is the story of a kingdom that the history books often skip over, a place where the crown was a death sentence and the palace a gilded cage. It's a raw, brutal look at what happens when a nation is caught between empires, and its identity is sacrificed for power. There are no knights in shining armor here, no fairy tale endings. Just a long, bloody history of executions, rebellions, forbidden love, and silent massacres. This is the story of a throne that devoured everyone who touched it. This is the cursed and nearly forgotten Kingdom of Bohemia. Thanks for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the hidden corners of history.